Greetings. The disaster here in Lower Puna has now expanded itself past just the loss of houses and property and animals and so forth and natural wonders. And as I had feared, it's true, it has become a papaya disaster. Most of the papayas that were raised in Hawaii were actually raised down in Kapoho, and so even the farms that did not go under the flow, a lot of them have been killed by the gases and such. Apparently, there were at least about 310 papaya farmers on this island. Out of that, this morning, the estimate is that we have only 300 acres of papayas left intact. I believe a lot of those are probably up by Kilauea, which is a little bit up the road from Kapoho, and they do quite a bit of papaya there too. And so those were saved, but most of the stuff down by Kapoho, which produced some of the finest papayas, is all gone. And so there's another 300 acres or so of papayas spread out across the rest of the Hawaiian Islands. And so with the 300 acres left here, we have approximately 600 acres of live papayas left here. I don't know about the rest of you, but for me, the classic solo papaya, the Hawaiian solo non-GMO papaya, was pretty much one of my favorites. It was a standard go-to. For me, everything was compared to it. There's all kinds of other papayas on earth, a lot of real good ones and so on, but that one is the one that I have eaten the most of throughout my life, both when I lived in the mainland and then after moving here. Since we were right on top of these papaya farms, that fruit was really, really cheap. It was probably, maybe along with local bananas, probably the cheapest fruit you could buy in the farmers markets here. Lately, the price had been about $5 or $6 for $2 on decent grade ones. You could buy fancier, bigger, nicer ones for more money than that, but it was easy to find 5 papayas for $2. Now it looks like those prices are going to double. For those of you who love papayas, that's a disaster. I grow papayas here on my farm, so we have somewhat of a supply, but I may never be able to supply even all my own papayas. I tend to buy them in too, because Mountain View is pretty high up. We're 1,600 feet or so here. Most of the papayas were raised from 500 feet down to almost sea level, 50 to 100 feet. It's much warmer down there, and a lot of them were also raised on lava, which drains really, really fast, doesn't hold a lot of water. And those were ideal warm and fast-draining growing conditions for that plant. Up here I have deep soil, it rains more, the soils are cool, they tend to be kind of wet, and the air is definitely a lower temperature at this elevation, and the papaya will survive, but I think I lose over half of the papaya plants I put in the ground here due to diseases like Phytophthora that'll attack them because of the cool, wet conditions. So I can grow it, but I can't grow it commercially, and I have yet to get more papayas than I will ever need. I do have some out in the nursery.
I'm counting 30 papaya plants out here in my nursery. Not hardly enough to make up for the shortfall from the lava flows. Kapoho was one of the perfect locations for the production of this fruit. It was warmer and drier. This is the classic Hawaiian solo non-GMO papaya, one of my favorites of all the papayas on earth. I eat them all the time, but because of the lava flow, so many of the papayas were wiped out. Kapoho used to raise 80% of this fruit for the entire U.S. market. Looks like I got to get busy planting myself some papayas today.
And if there's anybody else out there who needs a few papaya plants, I will probably not get them all planted. And under the circumstances, I'm going to take out the seed bin and I'm going to start planting flats of papayas here. I was watching our local KITV Channel 4 News this morning as I got up and saw my friend Axel Krattle show up in the news report. He was being interviewed because he had recently been down in the flow area rescuing animals. And he's got a large place in North Hilo farm where he had brought all manner of goats, they showed, and chickens, and he had kittens, and I think there were even dogs included. Anyway, he has been rescuing animals. Apparently it's a real problem. There has been a lot of animals that were abandoned in this. A lot of people just didn't believe, I guess, it was coming their way, and when it got to them, well, they picked up life and limb and got in the car and headed out, and maybe if there was a family dog and it was around, that went with them, but a lot of other things stayed. Apparently the animals that Axel rescued, there were cows that were lost to the flow. So anybody out there on the island who is a warm spot in the heart for poor animals that are homeless, the local humane societies and animal shelters and other organizations kind of networked on this. I believe if you make inroads, you may be able to find some animals to take care of that need homes. It's very possible in some cases their original owners may never be able to take them again. So there are animals out there needing adoption. Last night, the main caldera of Kilauea in the national park let loose with another one of those middle of the night earthquakes. I believe it was a 5.2 this time. Mostly these quakes have been due to the ejection of steam, ash, rocks from the caldera that are filling it because the sidewalls are collapsing. The sidewalls of the caldera are collapsing. All the debris is falling inward, and then way down deep the groundwater is interacting with the magma, boiling, creating steam, and then boom, shooting the stuff up into the air. They've got rocks, dust, and stuff laying all over the place up there. You can go in on the webcams from the USGS Volcanic Observatory here, or go through the National Park website if you're interested, and there's webcams still operating, trained on some of this stuff. But this morning I did see a video that somebody taken probably from a drone. I'm pretty sure. Anyhow, they had gotten over the top of Halemaumau and photographed downward, and the caldera, from what I remember, is completely unrecognizable. I've seen it in two states while I lived here. One was sleeping in just a frozen lava lake with no activity before 2008. Starting in 2008, it began the gassing plumes, huge plumes of gas and steam, which eventually led to the lava lakes that I would often photograph and are on my YouTube videos here. And it was just a month ago. It was a lava lake. Now it's a big dusty pit in the ground that's completely blocked up, full of debris that's fallen inside of it. You can take a look here, and I have some previous video footage of daytime lava eruptions in that caldera that are back in May, only back to May, and then followed by the most recent image that I could locate of a caldera overview, which is now, I think, 3 days old. It's collapsed even more since then. I am hoping for a day that the national park will reopen. It still remains closed. I'm missing it. It was one of my favorite places. I'm hoping that most of the rainforest that was on the eastern side of the calderas and the native honey creeper birds and all that is still fairly well intact. I believe it is. Going through in the road outside the park, it's still there, so I'm confident. Unfortunately, that is not the same when it comes to Kapoho Bay and Waiapai Tide Pools Marine Preserve. That's boiled away. It's just a field of lava. Bay doesn't exist anymore. Tide pools are gone. ocean floats with dead fish and turtles. It's a disaster for all of us because this was one of the most beautiful and beloved areas in all of Puna. It certainly had an effect on why I wanted to live here. I did hear something yesterday, though, that shocked me, and I haven't confirmed this. So if there's anybody out there that knows more on this, get back to me and let me know. But Big Island Mayor Harry Kim, he was on the news, and Harry Kim had a house in the tide pool area down there that he'd bought many years ago, and he was located there for the same reason the rest of us loved it, because it was so beautiful. And Kim said that the tide pools did not exist in the current form prior to 1975. Apparently there was an earthquake at that time, and it caused the land to drop 2.5 feet. And when that happened, the ocean ran in, created this series of pools in there, and so this beautiful marine preserve in that area apparently didn't exist more than before 1975. Well, that's not too long ago. And so there is hope that the area may recover, maybe not in my lifetime, but some of the viewers may still be around when it comes back to beauty. I see this, the lava is spreading into the area. It is leaving fingers and traces and such out there that look like they could build some really good reefs. We'll see what eventually occurs from it. But it just goes to show you that especially on a volcanic island, the only thing that stays the same is change. What you remember from yesterday does not exist today. The only place that we ever live is in this moment, in time and space. That's all we ever have. The rest is memories or imagination. They don't really exist, so you gotta live with the moment. So I don't know what this has got to do with lava or gardening, but I'm sure that most of you have noticed some of the news lately about famous celebrities who have recently committed suicide. Reports, apparently, on how many Americans are committing suicide lately, the increase in that, kind of extraordinary. I think it goes back about a decade or so that I was reading articles about how many members of the U.S. military were committing suicide, way and beyond the national average, which seemed to me to be a little bit odd. I don't really understand the issue well, so I'll stay away from that. I think, like most human beings, I've reached points in my life where sometimes I wish I wasn't around here anymore, but maybe gardening helps. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what's lacking. I looked at lists in the news lately of all the reasons, things that drive people to this, failure in business, loss of a partner, traumatic episodes in life, etc. And, of course, I looked at it and I said, well, duh, gee, that's like, we all go through that. I mean, if you're alive on planet Earth, you're going to face most of that stuff. I guess some people just deal and cope with it in other ways, It's possible that spending more time with plants, nature, the earth, growing fruit, growing delicious vegetables, maybe it helps. I don't know. All I know is I'm passionate and avid in that particular area, and I have never really considered leaving the planet early. Too much going on here. I mean, if you plant yourself a fruit tree that's going to take 6 to 10 years or 25 years to come to fruition, I mean, I'm not considering checking out before it's ready. I want to eat this stuff. So far, I've managed to harvest almost every fruit that I have ever planted. I tend to believe that if you don't focus on how long something might take, chances are you'll probably be there to experience it when it comes on. think making catharsis with long-lived organisms like trees can actually maybe expand the human lifespan. I used to believe that leaning against the trunks of 500 and 1,000-year-old plants let me have some sort of life force and energy that kept me young, made me live longer. Who knows? Maybe no truth to it, but felt good. Liked the idea. So, aloha. You all have an excellent day. Live for the moment. Enjoy what you got. And if you feel like it's not worth living for anymore, maybe see if you can get help. It might help you. Later.